Welcome to a new Smart Money video, and today we're going to look at top mistakes that leaders make, or top mistakes new leaders make. Leadership is critical and vital for the right functioning of society, of organizations, businesses, churches, and all manner of different things. Now, if the leadership doesn't do a good job, then unfortunately the whole organization will suffer. But there are some things that you can do to avoid this. There are common problems that happen that most leaders can avoid very easily if they simply take the time to put in a little bit of effort and a little bit of courage to lead in a better way. And today we're going to take a look at what are the top things that you need to avoid, some of those big mistakes that are made. If you enjoy videos on personal growth, investing, and business, please consider subscribing to the channel. We're going to look at 4 of the most common and critical mistakes that leaders make. Now, mistake number 1 is that thinking leadership is about you. Thinking that leadership is about the leader. And how do we get there? Well, it's very simple. People want to grow in their career. They want to advance and do much better. And naturally that means that you focus on becoming better as an individual. You focus on furthering yourself. You might need to sell yourself a little bit better. You increase your performance. And there's a lot of focus on what you're doing, on your effort. And this sets you up, particularly as a new leader, for a trap in thinking that now that you've achieved the status or you've been promoted to the position of a leader, that it's because of who you are. And I guess in some degree it is because of who you are. But now it is actually about what you can do for the organization and what you can do for others. You see, this is no longer about focusing on yourself. When you become a leader, in one sense, your career dies. Because now it is about other people's careers. Now it is about focusing on the business. Before you used to focus inward about your success and about you achieving. But the trap is, if you continue to do that in leadership, you're actually a poor leader. You hurt people. You break organizations. It's not about us anymore. When we become leaders, it becomes about the people and about the organization and its goals. And so critically, we need to look at ourselves and say, what are my motives? Am I focusing on what I can get out of this? Because if I am naturally going to be a poor leader, because conversations and circumstances I am going to engineer towards myself instead of towards those I'm leading and towards the organizational goals. And this leads us very nicely into mistake number 2. And mistake number 2 is when you have these goals, there sometimes is a weight and a pressure. And anyone who's been in leadership for some time will know that you can feel a weight of leadership. It feels like you're carrying something, you're trying to get something done, and often others cannot see it, they don't understand it. And so what we end up doing is putting a lot of pressure onto people. And so we transfer the pressure that we feel onto others. But we don't transfer everything. We don't transfer all of the vision, all of the knowledge. Sometimes you can't. When there's organizational change taking place and when there's a vision to go somewhere, you can't share all the details. You might not have figured them out, and some of them are quite sensitive and might be misinterpreted, and so you don't want to share all the details. This means when you transfer the pressure, people feel the pressure, but they don't understand why. And this is a mistake that leaders make. Unless you can share all the knowledge in a transparent and uplifting way, in an edifying way, you can't transfer the pressure. You can only transfer the pressure when you're in a circumstance that allows you to transfer the knowledge and the ability with it, so that people are empowered and enabled to move forward and to succeed in resolving the pressure that has been put onto them. Now, for some leaders, mistake number 3 just comes naturally because actually they are more aloof and more dreamers, and they like to see the future. They like to think about the future. They like to think where the company or the organization is going, and that is very good and very healthy. However, if they are detached from the reality of the business, they will be saying, we're going to X, and the business is over, all the way over at A. There is a massive difference between where the business needs to get to and where the business currently is. And if the leader is not thinking, how can I help the organization to get there? What are the steps? What is the path, the plan to get from A to X, Y, Z? Then they just hand over, this is where we're going, this is what we must do. And people will naturally start to solve that problem. However, as the leader, that really should be something you take a lot of responsibility for. You don't have to come up with all the answers. You don't have to know the exact plan. You work with others to figure it out, for sure. But you need to own getting from A to Z. You need to own that path. You need to make those decisions with the team and have accountability for driving and for taking the business to that particular place, to taking the organization to a new place. Because if you don't, this is what happens. People begin to make plans. And because there's often one leader with a number of people who are equals reporting into the leader, they each make their own plans. And that means they make slightly different plans. They have a different way of getting from A to Z. And that means that you start to have disunity and infighting within the organization. Things are not agreed and there isn't a unity pushing forward in the same direction in order to succeed. And so this is why it's critical as a leader. You are not aloof and you're not detached, but you're involved in setting the plans. Again, this is working on the business. It doesn't mean you have to work in the business. You work on the business, you bring that transformation, you help the organization move forward. If you're enjoying this video, please remember to hit that like button. It really helps the channel out. Now, the opposite can also be true. Some leaders end up getting too much into the detail and micromanaging the people who work for them or the people who volunteer in the organization. Now what happens? What is the problem with that? Well, people have talents, they have great ideas, they have amazing abilities, and they use those to figure out and to solve problems and to move an organization forward. But if we're too much into you need to do ABC and you need to do 1, 2, 3, then what happens for the person is that they are disempowered and they really just become a human machine. They just do number 1, number 2, number 3, and they report back to you and you're like, I don't like the way you did number 1, number 2 is okay, go fix number 1 and then we'll look at number 3. And they lose the creativity, they lose everything and the essence of what makes us human. The fact that we solve problems, we figure things out, we move things forward. Now again, this is held in tension with the other mistake I mentioned about being too aloof. So you've got to think about this really carefully. Don't be too far abstracted from the day to day that you are no good and you're just a daydreamer, so to speak. But don't be so involved in the detail that people feel disempowered and that they are merely a machine to do your bidding. You need to find the balance. Allow people to experiment, allow them to try, allow them to go for it. Talk through them. Okay, what do you think you can do? Help and guide, coach, mentor, and bring out the best in them. But don't tell them exactly what to do, because that inevitably leads to people being dissatisfied. It leads to your best people leaving the business. If you have enjoyed this video, please remember to subscribe to the channel, and also if you share this video with someone, it will help them out, and that means that together we can create an abundance.